The party's going on. Thank God it's Friday.
Now.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fantasy Realm presented by Pro Football Debate. You may notice that we're missing one of our members in our intro lead. Al Suchi is not here today. He is currently involved in a WNBA viewing party for the playoff matchup. If you didn't know about Al, he's an avid WNBA fan. So if you have any questions about WNBA or anything like that, feel free to reach out to him. With that said, BPappy and I are still here, and we're going to run this. BPappy, what did you think of last night's game?
What's going on, man? Yeah, the Lions, that was awesome. Lots of fun.
Yeah, for sure. David Montgomery looks like he's RB1. That was very impressive.
And your boy Sam Laporta had a great game.
Yeah, if you listen to these or you read my articles, you know Sam Laporta has been a guy I've been pimping up. And basically, Travis Kelce is a poor man's Sam Laporta. So pick him up, get him. He's already picked up, but trade for him. So
how you feeling about Jamar Gibbs? What are your thoughts on his usage? I know a lot of people were kind of saw a lot of things on X or Twitter, whatever you call it these days.
He was overdrafted in redraft leagues, so people they just freak out about rookies. Like, they're still rookies. You know, Bijan having his year, he's an exception. Sam Laporta having his year, he's an exception. Rookies are going to struggle. Rookies are going to get eased in. So if you drafted Jamar Gibbs expecting him to be an RB1 or RB2 in your lineup this year, shame on you. That's now you're reaping what you sowed. Like, he's going to take some time. He is a guy that should have been drafted as your RB3 or 4 that can win you the league at the end of the year when he gets more involved. But picking a rookie running back and expecting him to carry you through the first 4 weeks of the season is kind of a silly tactic, in my opinion.
Yeah. Cool, man. So, well, you talk about some week 4 matchups and things we got kind of brewing here for the upcoming games. There's a big international showdown in with Jacksonville and Atlanta. Kind of a game that I've had on my radar. Want to kind of run through some of these previews and then jump into maybe your Saturday 6-pack.
Yeah, you'll have to answer the whole Saturday 6-pack.
All right, that works for me. All right, cool. Well, let's jump into it. Jacksonville playing Atlanta. The international game, is that in London? I think.
Yeah.
So I kind of had a couple key guys that I looked at just based on some of the numbers and wanted to run those by you, get your thoughts. First off is obviously Bijan. I'm looking at it thinking he's in for a big day. It might be something Algier kind of suffers a bit from. Last week, Bijan had 81% of snaps and right now ranked second in route run per team drop back rate and first in target share. The Jags are yielding the highest yards per carry to gap runs, and Bijan ranks 4th highest in yards per carry on gap runs. So kind of liking that matchup and thinking, from the running perspective, he could have a big game. But the Jags also give up seven most receptions to running backs as well. So I think he's got a good matchup there for coming out of the backfield and receiving. And he's been targeted 17 times and 80 routes on the season. Obviously, I know you're high on Bijan, but this specific matchup this week, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's a great matchup for him. I think the Jaguars have been a letdown as far as real football is concerned. I think Bijan's going to eat. I think you can't overreact to what happened in week 3. I think we're seeing that the Detroit Lions defense is very good at stopping the run. And the Jaguars are not the Lions, and I think Bijan's going to get his. I expect a really big day from Bijan Robinson. Probably over 100, probably 5 catches. I'm going to call 2 touchdowns for him. I think he's going to have a huge game.
I was looking at that on the player prop side, two TDs for him based on what I was seeing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the snap counts? Last week with Bijan being in 81% of the snaps, do you put a lot of stock in those things, or is it just matchup? Do you think it's more matchup and game plan based?
On a week-to-week basis, I think it's matchup dependent, especially with an offense like Atlanta has out. I'm not going to put too much stock in it. If I would put more stock into it, if it was like a slow trend and you saw somebody gradually creeping and taking more carries, I don't know if it's happening now because I don't do the stats, those things, but say Tajee Spears was doing 20% and then 30% and then 45% and then 50%. Like I'd be like, okay, this is happening. They're phasing out Derrick Henry. I think it was more about the game plan. If you watch that game, Detroit was stuffing the run. Bijan's obviously a way bigger factor in the passing game than Algier is. So
Yep.
that's why he got so many more snaps last week. So I wouldn't overplay that. If you find a fantasy owner that maybe is, maybe try to poach Algier from, because Algier is still going to be involved. I think he's still going to get goal line carries. He's still going to get carries inside in between the 20s. But yeah, I'm not going to put too much stock into that.
Cool. But on the flip side of Bijan and Algier, you have Jacksonville's Travis Etienne. Him being an every down back, he was in at least 71% of snaps in every game so far this year. The Falcons do give up quite a bit of yards per carry to zone runs, and Etienne is a 50-50 zone first man rusher. So I'm looking at him as another must start this week. I think Al may, giving Al his credit, he called him out last week as a starter. I know you were big on him last week too, and Al stole him from you in the draft competition. But what are your thoughts on that and that offense and what he might do?
He's I thought Tank Bigsby would be a little bit more involved in the offense this year, but Tank kind of he looked like a rookie that was too big for his britches week one with some boneheaded plays, and Etienne stepped up. He's looked good. The Jaguars offense hasn't looked that good outside of week one. The Falcons defense is good. I expect this to be probably around like a mid-level game. So as far as scoring and fantasy standouts, for me in this game, I'm starting Etienne, I'm starting Ridley, and I'm starting Bijan out, and then probably Kyle Pitts, I guess. But I'm sitting London, I'm sitting Kirk, I'm sitting Zay Jones, Trevor Lawrence.
Zay Jones is out.
I don't love Trevor Lawrence, but
yeah,
I'll start him if I got to.
Yeah, Zay Jones was ruled. I was just looking at that. It was ruled out this week for that game. So I don't know if that boosts anybody.
Definitely
I don't know if that boosts anybody, but that's a good segue. Moving into the passing game, one of the guys I kind of had as a potential pickup where I think maybe people are low on him right now, and where you could buy him from some others is Kyle Pitts, and you're not giving up on him yet. His usage metrics are off the chart. He's leading the team in routes run per team dropback rate at 85%, 19.3% target share, and in this specific matchup, I think it's a good week for him because Jacksonville's a plus matchup, giving up the 14th most receiving yards and third most touchdowns to tight ends. So, this could be a boost week for him. So if he can work out some sort of deal beforehand to grab him from someone that's maybe low on him, thinking he's done for the season, he could pick you up some extra points this week is where I was at with him. But what do you think on Pitts?
So Pitts was on my sell list 2 weeks ago to sell after the Detroit game, and it's not necessarily because it's definitely not because of his talent, and it's not because of his usage in the offense. If you talk about these analytics and these percentages of snaps played and targets shared and stuff, it's that the Atlanta offense is a hard pass for me. I don't want anything to do with it. if I'm in a super tight end premium league, 2 points per reception for tight ends, or first, an extra point for a first down catch or something ridiculous, or they get 1.5 points per yard, then I'll start Pitts. But in just a regular standard league, I don't see him as a top 12 fantasy tight end. That offense just doesn't. Arthur Smith will make it so that passing offense is never fantasy relevant. He'll have a good team. They'll always have a good team. But the only people you want to own in fantasy and the Atlanta Falcons offense with as long as Arthur Smith there, is going to be running backs.
That's fair. Just curious on that game specifically, do you think that the international travel has any effect on the players, or is it kind of, we're in this, now the more modern and travel amenities that people have, it's maybe not as big of a deal, but you're going over across the pond to play a football game, and it's a 9:30 a.m. start, I think. Actually, Jacksonville kind of has the experience in this realm because they've done it a few times, kind of like a second home to them. But like for the rookies like Bijan and the others, do you think that factors into their game at all?
Well, I've never been a professional athlete, but I would think that there is some, maybe slow to the offense to that. But, if these guys are professionals, they're going to be prepared. They've prepped all week for it. I don't put a ton of stock into that. I put more stock into Thursday night football matchups than London matchups. As far as players not being ready.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
So, yeah. But let's talk about the most exciting game of the week.
Yeah. Looking forward to this one.
Bills, right?
Yes. Yep.
So, from this game, I mean, you're starting everybody, right? Are you starting 18?
I am starting A-Chain. The vibe I was getting just on different articles and things of that nature is that, people were focused on the blowout and that he had so many points, obviously, because he played more in the blowout later in the game. But if you look at, the carries at the beginning of the game, I think it was the game plan all along for him to get more or be even with Mostert. He actually out carried Mostert in the first quarter when the score was close. So it's tough to ignore what A-Chain is doing. He's first in missed tackles, force per attempt, and yards after contact per attempt. So he it's hard for me. I'm not as deep in receivers on the team I have him on, so I'm starting him in place of a receiver that I don't think will really put up many points. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me to start somebody in the Miami offense. But I think it is tough to ignore. I think he's got a really good matchup. The style of runner, he is going up against Buffalo. They give up the most yards per carry to gap runs, and he's a higher percentage gap rusher. So if the game plan is scripted for him, I think he could have a good game. And I do think that the Bills will try to slow the game down a little bit, take the ball out of Tua's and Tyreek's hands, but they get Waddle back. There's a lot of factors into that game. I'm curious to see if last week was just an anomaly against the really crappy defense and what they do against a good defense. So
sure. Yeah, it'll be I think it'll be a high scoring game. Dolphins are but usually these high scoring games that we predict are usually surprisingly defensive struggles, right?
Yeah. And that's why I'm wondering if the game plan switches a little bit with the Bills, and James Cook was one that stood out to me. From the Buffalo side, if they're going to run the ball, and they, Miami is pretty weak against receiving running backs as well. So James Cook could be a good play this week based on that, and a high ceiling, I guess, for him. especially if they are trying to slow the game down, because he's going to get more rushes. And that game, I'm excited. It's going to, if it is a shootout, Josh Allen can shoot out with the best of them. So you got Stephon Diggs, and that game has all the makings to be a classic. So I'm excited to watch that game.
Yeah, and so the last thing I kind of spoke on was I said the word struggle. And so speaking of a struggle, this Bears-Broncos matchup, are you going to can you trust Justin Fields or Russell Wilson or DJ Moore? I mean,
yeah, I don't think you can trust Fields. I mean, to throw the ball. I mean, I think he'll get points rushing.
Denver's been leaky, they're very leaky.
Yeah, I couldn't put stock in him to, he's pretty low on my chart of guys I would start, and Fields isn't really even in that discussion.
Are you starting any Bears?
No, I don't think so.
What about?
I would be more on the Denver side. I think I took Russ last week in our competition, and he's having a quiet but good year fantasy points wise. I mean, he's still in the top 12, and he's going up against a really bad passing defense.
I'm starting Sutton this weekend.
Yep.
I'm starting him over nobody of any strong significance, but I'm starting over Robert Woods in my 14-team league dynasty. It's the first week I've played Sutton, but Russ and him have a pretty good connection. I think if you're looking for a guy that's both in dynasty and redraft, I think if you're looking for a guy that's kind of undervalued, I think Courtland Sutton is fitting that bill as a guy. I mean, he's disappointed us for 5 years now, but he's looking good. He's getting the targets. Judy gets all the hype. And I do like Jerry Judy quite a bit, but I don't know if he's 100% healthy right now. So I like Sutton on Sunday.
Agreed.
I like Justin Fields on Sunday too. I don't think the Broncos are going to be able to contain him from running. I think Fields is going to do what Fields does, and that's run. And then that's going to open up some passing. He's going to have those little crap dump offs and crap passes that turn into big plays because Khalil Herbert and DJ Moore can make a lot out of a little. So I like the Fields matchup. I sat him in the same league, the 14-team Superflex League. I sat him and played both Jordan Love and Jared Goff. I'm pretty confident that I should have started Fields, but Thursdays are tough for me in setting lineups, and I just forget to do stuff as work and life and all that. So
I do think that game, it's one of those that a lot of people are writing off. They're both 0-3. They're both not very good teams.
It's going to be a terrible game, but we don't talk games. We talk fantasy football, what it means for fantasy. So,
and I think that
could be a very good fantasy game because neither team has really showed an interest in playing defense so far this year. I don't want to talk too much about game by game matchups. Last week we did the Saturday 6-pack. So today you're going to have to handle that all. Are you ready for them?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. The first one I got written down is a tight end matchup. And I'm actually disappointed that we talked about him already, but it's Kyle Pitts versus Pat Freiermuth. Which one are you starting?
I think I'm going with Pitts just based on usage. Who are the Steelers actually playing though? Let me double check.
Steelers are playing the Texans.
Yeah, I think it's still Pitts. I think I'm not. I think that that game's going to be faster paced. I'm not a fan of the Steel. I'm not a fan of the Steelers. Style of play, I guess, from a fantasy perspective. So I have Freiermuth. Actually, I have Freiermuth on my team as my starting tight end, and I think tight end's one of those positions you can plug and play anybody this year if you don't have a top 5 guy. So
it has been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one I have is another guy we just talked about, but Justin Fields or Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes this week. They got the primetime matchup, right? Monday Night Football. Yeah, I like Danny Dimes. They get Barkley back. I saw he might be back this week.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, I like Danny Dimes. I think, and they're at home. It's kind of I wouldn't say must-win game, but they're 1-2 going against the Seahawks. The Seahawks gave up. I got to watch them against the Lions. Gave up a lot of points to the Lions.
Yeah, they do. They're fantasy friendly.
Yeah, so I'm going Danny Dimes.
All right, James Conner, Josh Jacobs.
Oh, I'm a Josh Jacobs fan. I think everybody's down on him, but
because his fantasy points are down, and James Conner's been putting up points.
So that game, I think really, I'm probably Josh Jacobs either way, but I think it does matter if Jimmy G is playing or not. I know he was still not sure yet if he was in or not. But I think going up against the Chargers offense, they're going to need Jacobs to be active. And if not,
the Cardinals play the Niners.
Yeah,
but Conner's, I don't know. That's tough for me. That's Conner's been very good this year.
I feel like the Niners game could get the spread on that's like 14 points, and they have looked dominant. So my concern with that would be the game just gets out of hand too early and Conner just kind of becomes non-existent. We've seen that happen before. Sure. That would be one flag for me, but I'm a Jacobs either way because I think he's going to have to catch the ball out of the backfield, which in a PPR league obviously can get you some bonus points. So,
all right. So got another running back for you. It's Jerome Ford versus Devin A-Chain.
I'm going A-Chain this week. I don't like. That was one I wanted to bring up and talk to you about. I don't like Ford's matchup this week. The Ravens are a pretty stout defensive team, and that matchup traditionally is very low scoring and a very intense defensive battle. I don't know the history of that game, but I do remember watching those last year, and they're just super slow games. So I'm not a fan of Ford this week in that matchup. So I do like A-Chain. It's going to come down to game script for him though, and how they decide to use him against the Bills.
I'll say right now, I think I'm 100% against you on every single one. The only one I might pick Josh Jacobs over James Conner. I'm gonna do another quarterback one, and I wrote this one last, so I have one Saturday 6-pack. I'm gonna have to admit, but this one just popped into my head, and it's the surging CJ Stroud versus the struggling Joe Burrow. Which one are you starting?
Oh man,
do you have the nuts to sit? It's top 5 quarterback pick.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I have been pretty vocal in our episodes that I think that Joe Burrow will come back. I would have to before deciding that, I'd have to find out more about his calf. But just going off the cuff, I feel like if he is healthy, I have to go Joe Burrow because I think he's going to bust out. And it's going to be that time you decide to sit him, and it, cost your team the win that week. And I don't know. The Titans are not a good passing defense. I don't believe so. I like Burrow there. I like Stroud though too, but they had a big win last week, surprising win. And I don't know. Too. Yeah, and I don't. I right or wrong, I let that always factor into things. I look at a potential letdown there coming off that win. So yeah, I can't sit Burrow still. But if this is the time, I think if he has a bad week this week, you have to start thinking about sitting him. So yeah, it's still early though. It's still only week 4.
I don't think I have the nuts to sit Stroud To start Stroud over Burrow, but it's in my head for sure.
The interesting thing from a fantasy perspective, and Al called it out, I think last week, is that CJ Stroud just throws a million balls a game. So like he's from a fantasy points perspective, he's probably going to get you points every, week in and week out, even as a rookie. So that's a tough one. I like you said, I don't know if I have the the balls to sit Burrow in that situation. Jamar Chase busted out last week. I feel like that offense is just raring to go, and the Titans could be a good game for that.
Yeah. All right. So I have two more, but I'm only going to ask one to keep it real. Do you want the one I'm lower on or the one that I'm higher on?
What do you mean lower or higher?
As far as the players, like what I think their output's going to be for like a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3 type of thing.
Go. I mean, why don't you just both of them? I don't care. But go higher. Whatever you're higher on, I don't care.
Jordan Addison or Tank Dell?
You like Tank Dell. I actually like Jordan Addison. Dude, I was looking at. I wanted to try to poach him in one of my leagues. Because I think Minnesota is going to have to. They're reliant on Justin Jefferson, right? And I think. Am I thinking the right? Yeah, Jordan Addison's Vikings, right? I'm not on the wrong team.
I'm sorry, what?
Addison's on the Vikings, right? I'm not on the wrong.
Addison's on the Vikings, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking. I get him confused with Quentin Johnson. I was like, wait a second. I think the Vikings are dependent on Justin Jefferson. They have no running game. Still yet to be seen what the introduction of Cam Akers is going to do that offense and how that'll play out. Madison, as we've learned, is just, I think he had an okay week last week, but I don't know. They're just dependent on Jefferson. I think Addison's going to have to be more involved for them to start winning football games. So I like Jordan Addison. But I know Tank Dell's, again, Stroud's going to throw a million balls. I think there's a lot. I think Robert Woods there competing for the catches. Who's the other? Nico. Yeah, Nico. I think they're kind of scattered. It might be a week in, week out thing, but I long term Tank Dell, I know you're high on him too, but I
like them both. I do.
Yeah, I like Addison this week at least.
All right, I'll ask the seventh one. It's we got an extra one, and nobody really cares if you get 7 out of us in the 6-pack. So, Drake London or Josh Palmer?
Josh Palmer. I don't. You hit the nail on the head when you said that you don't think Ritter can support a fantasy wide out
catchers. Yeah, he's not supporting more than one. All right, so that wraps up that Saturday 6-pack plus one. I hope Al is having a blast with his WNBA watch party, sipping champagne and whatever he does. But I want to share. He sent us his must starts and must sits. If you enjoyed his, was he coming?
No, I said cool if he sent him. I can argue with him. He's not here.
Yeah. He sent them, and I'm not going to be able to give his full in-depth analysis of them, but I'll read them off. If you enjoyed them, you can listen to this here. So this is the Al Suchi, Captain Al, Chris Elliott, starts and sits. So his must starts is Daniel Jones versus Seattle. Seattle allowed close to 400 yards and 2 touchdowns to Andy Dalton last week. Alvin Kamara versus Tampa Bay. He says if you need help at running back, Alvin Kamara could be a really good plug and play for you. Swift dominated the Tampa Bay defensive line last week. Don't wait for him. Pick him up if you can. DJ Moore versus Denver. He thinks that the Fields and DJ Moore matchup is a borderline must start for both of the two. But he thinks DJ Moore is going to have a breaking out party this week. And I definitely respect that. Denver's defense is, like I said, uninterested in playing defense. And now to his must sits. He thinks that Joe Burrow is a must sit. He Tennessee brings a ton of pressure, and Burrows can't move. So that's it's a bad concoction right there. Rashad White versus New Orleans is also a must sit. New Orleans is the best run defense in the league, and he's not getting the targets that we all were led to believe that he would get out of the passing game. And then his third and final must sit is Garrett Wilson. I mean, do I have to say anything else? Zach Wilson is the quarterback, and Kansas City defense has been pretty tough this year. So those are Al Suchi's must starts, must sits. Start Daniel Jones, Alvin Kamara, DJ Moore, and sit Joe Burrow, Rashad White, Garrett Wilson. Last week he was pretty on point with his must starts. His must sits were pretty decent too. They actually scored pretty good. So take those for what you will. You have any thoughts and opinions on those, Brandon?
Yeah, I think I think the must starts are obviously all high ceiling. I don't know that I would call any of them must starts for me, but I think they're all high. They're definitely all high ceiling and could pop off. But I think the only one I really like is probably DJ Moore. I was thinking that was obviously a good matchup. I don't like Kamara.
What I like about his list is he's not giving you the no-brainers like, oh, you must start
Right.
Cousins, you must start Jalen Hurts. Like nobody gives a fuck about that. He's always giving you some guys that you might be wondering about. Should I start Daniel Jones or Justin Fields or Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence? And so that what he's telling you is
fair. So
it's a good list. Thanks, Al. Hope your team is making mini layups right now. Is there anything else we want to cover? You got anything else for us?
Yeah, just maybe one other game that I'm kind of targeting. I would target for daily fantasy as well as potential player prop situations as well too. But it's the Rams Colts game. That one is super interesting to me. The Colts are a very fast pace. They lead the NFL in pace. So the Rams are going to have the ball a lot. Stafford has looked, good from a fantasy perspective this year, back to his old Stafford ways from the Lions days. I think he's a QB1 this week with a plus matchup. Colts give up a lot of points. I think they're around like fourth behind the Lions, Bears, and Broncos in terms of fantasy points to quarterbacks. And then, Kyren Williams is kind of that whole offense. It's the replacements team, right? Like Kyren Williams coming out and he's last 2 weeks, 95% of snaps, the last two games, averaging 16 or 18 touches a game. So like he's another one I think is an absolute must start from a running back position. And then I do think Puka versus Tutu matchup has been interesting to me. I think Tutu's starting to get a little more action. Tutu's having a great year quietly behind Puka, after the first couple of weeks. And I have Tutu on my team, so I'm high on him, obviously. But he gets a really good matchup this week against the Colts secondary. The back that'll be covering him is pretty bad with a 107.2 pass rating. So I think he's going to steal some of Puka's targets this week, and I think he could be in line for. I'm targeting him as like a really high ceiling play for like daily. That he could have a really good game. And then on the other side, I think Josh Downs could have a really good game for the Colts because Pittman's going to be matched up against a tougher back, and they're going to need Downs to step up a little bit. He has also gotten 3 red zone targets, so I think he's a good candidate for a touchdown in this game because I think there's going to be a lot of passing. This is going to be high scoring, fast paced game, and that's one I'm looking forward to. So I don't know your thoughts on it. I know you've let me battle Al on the Puka topic, but I do like Tutu in this matchup.
That's the Rams receiving core, in my opinion, it's what you feel. It's from the gut. What you feel is right. Just go with it. I'm on the Puka train. Tutu has got my attention. But I don't get too excited about either one of them because once Cooper is ready, Cooper is going to dominate the targets. And as far as Kyron, I like him. I'll kind of compare him to Zach Moss right now as two guys that have kind of came out of nowhere and have had pretty good fantasy relevant years. And I will take Kyron over Zach Moss 100 times out of 100. I just think he's a better running back, more multi-dimensional and better out of the backfield. But yeah, I mean, and I like the Josh Downs talk too. I think Josh Downs is going to, he's a playmaker, and Indy could end up having a pretty good offense if Richardson can throw the ball and get his feet right and all that good stuff. So the high pace stuff, I didn't know that. I didn't know they had a super high pace offense. Is Gardner Minshew playing again this week?
As of right now, I believe it was Richardson. He cleared. I believe he cleared concussion protocol.
Yeah, so that last week's stats is with Minshew, so you get to see how it is again with Richardson. It's going to be a completely different offense. So
yeah, he's not on the injury report right now. So
the only two people from the Colts I would start are Michael Pittman and Richardson. I wouldn't touch. I'm just not going to get excited about Moss. And if my team is in a situation where I have to start Zach Moss, then I've really fucked up somewhere.
So. Tyler Higbee just signed I think it was today, a big extension. I don't know. I never really factor contracts and all the outside of if they're playing for a contract. Obviously I think they get a little bit of a boost in performance when that's going on, but I don't know if that factors in anything, but obviously Higbee's been in our talks for tight end. I think he's in the top 12 in terms of tight ends. So could be a good play as well if they're passing a lot.
Yeah, he's always a nice tight end to desperation play because he'll have his random game where he gets 9 catches for 95 yards and a touchdown. So I don't hate that at all. So,
and then I have one must sit for you for the week that I found in my digging today. I didn't have a lot to do, so I was able to dig a lot deeper into the matchups. But for me, it's Mike Evans as a must sit this week.
Really?
Yeah, he's going against Marshawn Lattimore, and career-wise, historically, has not played well against him. So I already think he's at a handicap with Baker. What they've done so far has been surprising to me. I think they've been efficient, but this is a week I would look to sit Mike Evans if I have.
How bad of a must sit would you start Adam Thielen over him?
I would. This week I do have Adam Thielen on my team, so I'm starting him.
Would you start Curtis Samuel over him?
Probably not him.
What about Juju?
I can't trust that offense in New England with Mac Jones. They're back in the old days of. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, if you're forced with those options, yeah. But I think in terms of the wide receiver one discussion, Evans falls out for me of that for the week. And I would bump up anybody I have in a wide receiver 2 spot to be.
Would you start DeAndre Hopkins over him?
I think I would this week. Yes.
Cool. Interesting. If I have Evans, I'm starting him because I don't care about the matchup with a guy like Mike Evans. He can pop off 1 or 2 huge catches that makes a huge difference. But I'm more stubborn with my lineups. I don't overthink it too much. I just say,
yeah,
I've drafted this guy to be my dude. This guy's my dude until he's hit. And that's really how I play fantasy football. Like, I do my prep in the off season and I stick with it, and I'll do slight adjustments. I don't try to overthink my week to week matchups. I don't. So, and like if I drafted, Pat Mahomes is my number one quarterback, and then I drafted Tua later, and like Tua's having these huge years, like I'm never questioning it. Patrick Mahomes is my quarterback. That's who I went with for the beginning of the season. And that's who I put my money on. I'm trying to trade Tua in that situation. I'm not trying to play week to week on which one to start. I'm going to trade my asset as my QB2 and just stick with my original thought. I'm going to trust my process at the beginning of the season. So I'm going to Mike Evans if I got him.
It's fair.
I don't know if you guys enjoyed the section where we did our draft. Obviously, we cannot do it this week and without Al. We will probably do something offline. We have a suggestion to do a daily fantasy lineup. So I think we'll probably put something together offline and post it on the Fantasy Realms Facebook page. And if you haven't liked it, please like it. We will really enjoy that. And then we'll do the same thing. Brandon will probably chug on Monday. I think we're talking about moving our Wednesday show up to Monday and posting it on Tuesday to kind of separate our episodes and talk about a little bit different things. If there's anything that you guys listening would like to see us talk about or have any suggestions or complaints, comment, let us know. If you think Brandon's stupid, let us know. If you think I'm stupid, let me know. If you think Al's ugly, we know. So just let us know, and we'll try to adapt. We want to make this something that is value and entertaining enough to listen to.
And look out on Sunday morning for the start sit post to post your questions on
Saturday
matchups.
Sunday morning we will post our we'll open it up for like an hour or two, and all three of us, we're all busy. We all have kids and families, so we answer when we can. But I think last week we did a pretty good job. I missed one. I told somebody to sit Thielen over Burks, but I wasn't comfortable with that question because I don't like any of them. But we will give you the best advice possible, and we'll respond as quick as we can. And I think that about wraps us up for the week here. If you could please like and subscribe our videos on YouTube, follow us on Spotify. That will mean a lot to us. I don't even care if you watch them or not. Just like and subscribe them, and then swipe right and to get rid of it out of your notifications. Just give us a helping hand here. All right. We have to talk to Al 2 days a week. We need your help. So is there anything else you want to sign off with, Brandon?
No. Happy football weekend. Go Blue.
Absolutely. I don't agree with the Go Blue. I don't really give a shit what they do. Who are they playing? What community college this weekend?
I think they got Nebraska, I believe.
Oh, cool. And I think their quarterback throws with his foot. So
I know. It's a weak schedule. Fair enough.
All right, everybody. I'm sure that upset a lot of people. I think most of our fan base is Michigan fans, but comment on it. Let me know that I'm an asshole. All right, man.
All right, man.
I'll see you guys. Everybody watching, thank you so much. Again, please like and subscribe. It means the world to us. Thank you.
Adios, man.